What is up, folks at home? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about how to choose the right swim bait for the right water temperature that you are fishing. We got a ton of underwater, a ton of swim bait stuff to go over today. Let's dive in. We'll see you there. So when we're talking swim baits, choosing the right swim bait for the right water temperature fishing is one of the most overlooked things in bass fishing. So I'm gonna go from hot water all the way down to cold water, what I'm throwing in the coldest of the cold, right? Let's dive on in. The first thing that I'm gonna pick up in hot water is a big boot tail hollow body swim bait. So here is the Zoom 6-inch swimmer, and literally I got these baits when they were going out of style like 3 years ago, and Zoom stopped making these. But any hollow body swim bait you want to throw when the water is 70 degrees and above. Number one, it's got a huge side-to-side rocking action. So when we pair this bait up with that beautiful upgrade jig from Ebb and Flow Outdoors, you can see it's got a ton of underwater rock and roll on it. And part of that is the Jig Head from Ebb and Flow. Part of that is the boot tail swim bait. They're just gonna have a bigger than average kick. That hollow body allows it to get a lot of good head wobble and roll in there. Plus that big boot tail kicking side to side gives a great action. These swim baits are killer above grass lines. They're also killer out there on the ledges, out deep. You can chuck these things a country mile on a heavy jig head, wind them back, and you're gonna get good option. And literally, it's very, very hard to beat in hot water. If you are not in an area where you can fish a big swim bait like that, the next swim bait that I'm gonna go to in extra warm water is a classic from Strike King, and it is the Rage Swimmer. So here is the Rage Swimmer, and the Rage Swimmer is going to, once again, give you a lot of kick. It's got a ton of different color options. Here it is on a swim jig, right? A skirted swim jig, and literally it gives it that nice head wobble and body roll. It's a great warm water swim bait, right? It gives you a lot more action and a lot more roll. Swim baits are gonna get bit better if they have that better head wobble and action, and you can see in that pulsing skirt here that it's got a good kick on it. So the Rage Swimmer from Strike King is another great option to throw in that medium water. And we're talking Rage Swimmers from 50 to 70 where they're really gonna shine. If I want to throw a plain jig head, right, and I want to throw another one that's going to have some good rock and roll and wobble on it and work in a lot of different categories, I'm going to pick up that Z-Man Diesel Minnow on that Ebb and Flow upgrade jig head. It looks really, really, really good on this jig head. Plus, it's Elastec. It's not going to come off there. It's not going to rip out after a few fish. It's literally going to be on there until you take it off, and that's one of the biggest advantages of Elastec, right? It's gonna stay on that jig head from Ebb and Flow until you have to cut it off with a razor blade, right? And it's got that beautiful head rock and roll that we're wanting and looking for in any jig head that we are fishing and any swim bait that we are fishing. It's gonna work in a lot of different water clarity and a lot of different situations. Great combination right there for your all around gear. Now, as the water gets colder, I'm going to start wanting to see swim baits that don't have as much kick and body roll, because naturally fish are not going to have as much sharp movement in cold water. So that's when I pick up the Largo Shad from Storm. And the Largo Shad is built to be a saltwater bait, but it's also built to be a subtle swim bait. It's got a lot of good head wobble and roll, but the tail kick on this bait is super subtle. The 2.75 inch to 3.25 inch to 5 inch Largo Shad all look the same. You can upsize them and downsize them. They are an exquisite cold water swim bait on a jig head because they have a nice tail kick and they have a subtle action and roll. And really, really, really in cold water, we're saying 50 on down, you want subtle action. Now, when I get to 40 and on down, I'm exclusively going to use the Spark Shad from Megabass, because that swim bait in the ultra cold water when you're dragging Jig Head on the bottom has done the best out of anything that I've ever used in cold water. And it just simply is one of those baits that I believe in. But 50 to 40, that Storm Largo Shad, you can save a buck there. They're gonna stay on there for a long time, and you're gonna catch fish, right? Something that a lot of people don't consider is how much action a bait has and how the water temperature really plays with that action. It's always best if you can find a bait that matches what the fish are looking at in the real world at that time. As water gets colder, your action becomes more subtle and subdued, and that way you generate more bites. If you guys have enjoyed the content lately, give us a like and subscribe. Let us know in the comment section what you want to know. We're always posting stuff in the community tab on YouTube. Hit us up there. Give us suggestions for baits to try, things to do, places to film. Let us know how we can help you. Just be active with us and let us help you become better anglers. Help us do more for you. We'll see you next time, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us.